Hello guys, today we're about Paper Mario, the Origami King. So I finally finished this game. I can definitely tell you, this is a much better game than the city ones that came before it, which is Sticker Style and Color Splash. I don't know what Nintendo was thinking with Color Splash and Sticker Style. Sticker Style being one of my least favorite games of all time. Well, does this game live up to the original games, or is this just the Sticker Style 2? Alright, that's Color Splash. Or is this no better than Sticker Style or Color Splash? Warning, there will likely be spoilers in this video. I think there will be spoilers in this video. So if you don't want any spoilers in this video, I suggest you turn back now. I know people are like, but put in the title. Well, I warned you, there will be spoilers later in the video. This will probably be like a 30-minute video anyways. So yeah. The first will be talking about the battle system. The battle system is pretty much controversial. Why is it controversial? Because it isn't, an actual turn-based system. What do you mean by not actual turn-based system? Well, isn't like the 1,000 years. It's different. We have to line up the enemies and stuff. So it's kind of like a more strategic RPG. No, turn-based RPG. Not like your traditional JRPG, like how it is in like the original Paper Mario games. We have Mario on one side, the enemies on the other side, and you have to choose the attack and attack the enemies. Well, this game does it for this new puzzle system. This new puzzle system can be infuriating sometimes. Why? Because they'll put the panels that you need to do to beat the bosses in the wrong areas. Same thing with the this is about the boss. We're going to talk about the bosses later, and why the bosses are probably better than any boss in Sticker Style and Color Splash. But basically, the new system is very annoying when it comes to bosses or doing enemies, especially when you get to the harder enemies. It's very, very, very annoying because if you don't get the Silver Gold God Plus, you'll probably be stuck fighting enemies that might soul you if you don't get it. Because some of the enemies do like 20 damage, you don't get the Silver God Plus. There's also the Gold God Plus as well. And yeah, you can basically do that as well. And it gets very annoying later on. Especially, yeah. So, also fighting is kind of pointless. But unlike other Paper Mario games, unlike Sticker Style and Color Splash, unlike Sticker Style and Color Splash, there is actually a motive. There actually is a slight motive for fighting enemies. Of course, it's for grinding coins. In this game, you have to get new items with coins, including, one-up mushrooms, super mushrooms, tails, which is an item I never used, ice and fire flowers, and of course, new more powerful hammers, and more powerful shoes. The way to do this is you have to get the coins, and the easiest way to get coins, of course, is to fight enemies and to grind out coins. This is, of course, the easiest and most effective way. It's also an easy way to get confetti to fill up the holes in the world, so you don't have to deal with, of course, the problem that is the holes in, the maps, which of course are taken out by the king. By the Origami King and his folded soldiers. Sirs, we'll get to the story later. So yeah, the battle system is pretty much the worst thing about the game. That is the worst thing about the game, is the battle system. Because the game does sometimes like to screw you over. There's those tutorials like how to beat the boss in 4 turns, but then of course to put the on switch on the other side of the map. And of course, you only have 3 things for free switch things. So you have to get one so Mario can move around. And of course, you have to make sure you have the on switch area as well, which will cost 1. And of course, you won't be able to use the item with your 1,000-fold arms, which could kind of screw you over in some fights. Especially some fights like the Stapler fight and the Fire of Elemental fight as well. And especially the Water Elemental fight. Those are the fights that can screw you in. And the scissors fight if you don't know how to dodge. Like Piccolo told you to dodge. Dodge! And now let's talk about the characters. Good thing is, not all the characters are generic toads. Basically, basically one of the main things of the game is to save toads because King Ari despises and hates toads, so he wants to make them all suffer and wants to make them do all suffer. So he's gonna be like, okay, I'm going to turn all toads into origami and basically kill you all. Told you, and again, his goal is to just erase toads off of this existence. Turn them into blank sheets of paper so he can basically create more origami worlds. King Ari can create more origami worlds. And basically, yeah, it's like that. So now we'll talk about the characters. So you play as Mario, of course, and we'll talk about the partners. You actually get partners in this game. And this is where some of the spoilers may come in. Will come in. So the first partner you get is, of course, Olivia. She helps you with she helps you with developmentals later on in the game when you beat developmentals because he's able to copy them and fold into developmentals. She's also the reason you have the powers and fold arms as well. So, and yes, he basically helps you to stop, of course, her brother from, of course, turning the world into his origami empire. And, yeah, yeah. And then the second character you get to join you is, of course, Mr. Bob-omb or Bobby. He's a pretty cool character, but sadly later on in the story, okay, let's of course get through everything in between. So yeah, he gets lost pretty easily in the early parts of the game, causing you to go down a bridge and go up a hill to get him. And of course, he doesn't want to go to the Waterville Mental and doesn't want to fight Mr. Lower Band, which is a pretty annoying boss. But yeah, Mr. Bobby, he basically is a lazy man. He really does sweeps, and after you beat the rubber band boss, he finally regains his memory after, of course, King Ari trapped Rivia under a boulder. So he regains his memory and he wants you to go to the boat. So he go to the boat and the reason is so he can get a fuse, so he can sacrifice himself, so he can follow along in the story. The next character you get to join you is, of course, Professor Toad. He's a pretty good character. He is basically a typical archaeological character. He isn't as great as some of the characters in earlier Paper Mario games, but he's a great help for you in the game as well, helping you find secrets throughout the desert. And also, I like the fact that he likes archaeology and stuff. Maybe he could find some fossil Koopas in the ground as well. So yeah, maybe the paleontology of the Mario universe. But yeah, next characters that get to join you later on the game is Kamek and Bowser Jr. They basically just want to help save Bowser because they know basically what King Ari has done to Bowser's castle. Of course, the final partner to join you is Bowser. He is basically the final partner you get, and of course, he goes through you again the origami castle to help you as well. And then once he beats Stapler, you're finally able to unstable him and becomes normal Bowser. And he helps you in the second phase against King Ari and the final battle. So, Bowser kind of redeemed himself in the game. And also, Kamek kind of Kamek and Bowser Jr. actually do noble deeds in this game, almost sacrificing themselves in it. You actually think they're both dead. But they survived. They're still alive at the end of the game, unlike Mr. Bob-omb or Bobby, sadly. So, yeah. Now let's talk about the villain, King Ari. So he is the main villain of the story, and he basically got pissed off because he got written on him. There are two powerful reasons why he got pissed off. Number one, it is forbidden to write on origami in Japanese. Or number two, he's just a bad person. Which, number one is more likely, because in Japanese culture, it is forbidden to write on origami. Something that is taboo. And basically, that probably makes sense why he's angry. Because he probably knows it's forbidden to wear an origami. So that means King Ari is actually technically in the right here. Of course, he takes it too far like a certain mustache man from World War II against the Toads. But, yeah, he still loses in the end. And of course, Next is Luigi. He's kind of not really in the game. All he is just looking for keys. I wish he'd joined you at the final battle against King Ali. I think that would have been a much bigger one because he would have been on your side. And the battles, again, you already have Bowser with you. I think they just wanted to have one partner with you at once, and that kind of makes sense. So there you go, like all the major characters, except for a certain group of characters, the region of stationary, who are the bosses of the era of each streamer, well, and of course Stapler as well. So the region of stationary are of course a group of high-ranking members in King Ali's army. They're basically the masterminds behind the folded soldiers. You have the Missile Maestro, of course, colored pencils, which is a pretty good boss fight. It's the second boss fight in the game, and besides after the Elemental, and I like and he's a pretty good character. And of course, we have the second boss fight, which is of course Rubber Band, one of the most infuriating boss battles in basically the entire game, besides the water elemental. So yeah, because of the final one-man band. I still find it funny when he gets so angry and turns to a one-man band. It's always so priceless to fling him away, because he deserves it. Next is of course, yep, the Disco Devil. Hole Punch probably the best of all the bosses because he has some pretty good dance moves. So he's probably the best one. Next, of course, we have Tape. His boss battle is pretty fun because you get the crackers to open his tape thing, and he becomes like a wheel at the end, and you have to basically pull off all of his tape. A pretty unique and fun boss battle. I'll go with the other ones later. That we mentioned earlier. And of course, Scissors, the final boss before, of course, the Stapler, who is basically a pair of scissors. And he cut up all your guys and even made another boss called Paper Mistake Buzzy Beetle. And if you fight Scissors, he could kill you in one hit. And he even toys with you at the beginning, putting a protective thing on his blade so he doesn't kill you instantly. And of course, go back to the other ones. Colored pencils basically just shoots missiles at you. And of course, the second boss of the game, Rubber Band, he just throws rubber bands all over the place. And of course, Hole Punch, he punches holes in you, reducing your health by half. I think all of the bosses in this game, all the regional stationary boss battles are pretty well done. And are much better than just simply waddle away the HP. You have to find creative ways to beat all of these bosses. And now let's talk about developmentals. Developmentals are not as memorable as the regional stationary, but also all pretty good element bosses. Now we'll get to talk about the bosses. So there was one other boss, which is Handaconda. Another pretty unique and interesting boss. For bosses, I would probably give a 10, because every boss is unique from each other. It isn't just whittle down the health to 0 and you win. You have to find unique ways to beat the bosses. So, for example, the first boss, you have to close the colored pencils thing as well. And Hole Punch, you have to attack only the backside. You can't attack the front. And Handaconda, you can only attack with hammers, as if you try to jump on it, it'll throw you back. And of course, Scissors, you can, of course, jump on it once his protective ceiling is gone, or else you die instantly. And Rubber Band, you can't use normal attacks on him, so you have to use the 1,000-fold arms. And several other bosses, you require you to use developmentals for advantage. So basically, the bosses, they require strategy in the game. Even the final boss himself, King Ali, has 3 stages. The first stage is basically just a gigantic Pokemon battle, where you use developmental that's strong against his, and basically win again, and that easily. The second phase of his battle, he basically just smack your hands on the ground to make Bowser push him down. And then the final phase is using a massive magic circle to turn Olivia into a hammer and hit him like 5 times, and then he finally dies. And he basically does die. Why? Why does he hate Toad so much? Because of course the Toad scribbled on him. And now let's get into the story of the game. Yep, we finally got into the story. So basically, King Ali. Yeah, there's spoilers now. We already covered spoilers when we talked about Bobby the Bomb. So, didn't I warn you of spoilers at the beginning of the video? Well, I think I did. And yeah, King Ali basically wants to turn the world into an origami world because he hates toads. And basically, throughout the whole game revolves around concealing the five streamers to reveal his castle. You go one by one, meeting partners as they come and go. Especially Bobby the Bomb. Sadly, he's still dead because he sacrificed himself. But we will cover a majority of the streamer ones as well. Well, basically, once you defeat the five streamers, you have to do a big, massive aerial battle against King Ali's fleet as well, and then you get thrown down into a volcano. And then, once again, to Peter's castle, King Ali turns his castle into an origami castle. And you have to navigate. The origami castle is a pretty short area. There's only like two main areas in the origami castle. And of course the main top four. But basically, the origami castle. And you have to fight the stapler, which I didn't really mention. But yeah, he's another pretty infuriating one because of course he'll staple you to the ground. And then of course you fight King Ali. And then once you beat him, he basically says, you know what? I realized I was a bad person. For once, a villain realizes he's wrong. A bad person. He realized that he was a bad king because, literally, it wasn't a scribble. The toad that created him, that gave him the food of life, put, I hope you're a good king, a good and fair king, and he admits that he didn't fulfill the toad's wish. So the best he can do is basically let Olivia fold him into the Files of Crane and basically list all the damage he has done to the Mario universe. Basically sacrificing herself because, spoiler alert, King Ali voted Olivia into life. And throughout the whole game, King Ali was trying to get Olivia to join him. And now let's talk about the music. Like with many Nintendo games, Paper Mario Origami King has a lot of good music in the games. A lot of memorable tunes in this game. I think in terms of memorable music, that has to go up there with Super Paper Mario in terms of memorable music from this game. You have a lot of good songs in this game, including the Origami Castle theme, and of course the Disco Devil Hole Punch theme, and of course the Dual-Bladed Duelist Scissors theme. There is probably a theme for everybody in this soundtrack, including relaxing themes and epic battle themes, like the Battle of King Ali, and of course, Origami Castle. So you have songs for everybody. Songs that are memorable, and songs that people will probably remember for years. So, now we'll do the final judgment. Where would this game rank on the Paper Mario ranking? Is it anywhere close to The Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario? Well, we'll be going over various aspects as well. I haven't played Mario 64 on Color Splash, and I don't plan to ever play in Color Splash because Color Splash is just more the same. Story, I would have to think that this game has a better storyline and soundtrack than The Thousand Year Door. The soundtrack, I think, is just better. I'm sorry, the X-Naut Fortress cannot save a game, considering that your final boss theme is just a reused version of the underground theme, when the final area theme for Origami Castle is unique and does not reuse any music. This game doesn't really reuse any music from older games, which makes this game automatically have a better soundtrack than The Thousand Year Door, because The Thousand Year Door sometimes uses music from remixes older themes, and sometimes remixes are even worse. But of course, it does not beat, of course, Super Paper Mario's amazing soundtrack. So this game does not beat Super Paper Mario's soundtrack, but it's pretty close. I would have to pick together. I think, yeah, both of the games have a phenomenal soundtrack. So soundtrack for both games, Super Paper Mario and the Origami King, are basically a 10 out of 10 soundtracks. So they're basically equal. Cool. The gameplay is the only bad part about the Origami King. And it's probably, but again, Super Paper Mario also has flawed gameplay, and it's still a pretty amazing game. So, but the most important part of the game is the story. What is the story hold up? Well, this game still has a better story than the Thousand Year Door. I'm sorry, Thousand Year Door fans. I know you guys love Thousand Year Door, but this game has a better story. You actually see one of your partners literally sacrifice himself for you to progress through it, to save one of the main characters in the game. Something that really didn't happen in, Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door. There wasn't really any major partner deaths in that game. Super Paper Mario had them, but that's spoilers for that game. We don't want to cover spoilers for that game. But Super Paper Mario Super Paper Mario and this game have one thing in common. Your main partner that is there throughout the game dies. Okay, yeah, spoiler parts for Super Paper Mario, but it is true. Olivia and Tippy, who is the main partner, that is the main pixie that helps you throughout the game, they both die at the end of the game, and it's very sad to see both of them die. But this game's story is comparable to Super Paper Mario. But instead of lovers, it's about siblings. And basically one of the siblings wants to end the world, and one of them wants to stop his plan before it goes too late. And basically it's a very similar story to Super Paper Mario. It seems that they really took notes from that game to make this game's story. They really took notes from that game. The fact that, the main character is a relative of the main character that's one of the character that's with you through the whole game. And it's very, very similar. And the ending of the both games are very sad. And very sad and make you want to cry. Same thing with Bobby's death. So overall, yes, this game is on par with the other Paper Mario games. Yes, the gameplay may not be that good, but they actually brought back the unique and wacky characters. For example, the Reason Stationary are all pretty unique and wacky characters introduced. They even added some new great characters like Bobby the Bomb, and they added Professor Toad, who help you for your fences. Yes, the Paper Mario Origami King is definitely a step in the right direction for the Paper Mario universe. And is definitely much better than the disgraces known as Color Splash and Sticker Style. I also find it funny that King already hates Toad. I think he basically represents the entire Paper Mario fandom as it is. So, yeah. Paper Mario the Origami King, if you have not played it, it's a pretty good game. Unless you're a closed-minded Thousand Year Door fanboy, you'll probably like this game. Because those closed-minded Thousand Year Door fanboys will only think that the only good Paper Mario games are Mario 64 and the Thousand Year Door, and refuse to even touch games like Super Paper Mario and the Origami King. So this game will probably pop up on most underrated games lists in the future. Kind of like Super Paper Mario started popping up on those lists. I think you should play both Super Paper Mario and the Origami King. Both games are different than the original two Paper Mario games. And no, we're not talking about those two great disgraces between them, which is Color Splash and Sticker Style. Both games are unique and deserve a chance. Both Super Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Of course, everybody loves Super Paper Mario. I wouldn't be surprised if the Origami King becomes just as beloved as Super Paper Mario down the road. So that's basically it about this video. Goodbye.